Yo, what is up guys? My name is Illusive, and today we are going to be talking about a complete gearing guide for ArcheAge Unchained. Now, this video is going to cover a lot of information, so it's going to be a little bit longer, but I'm going to try to put timestamps down in the description for you guys. Also, bear with me. It's kind of hard to talk right now. I have a mouth infection, so it hurts to talk, but I got to get this video out. And servers are about to come down for maintenance as I'm recording this, so I need to do this. So what this video is going to cover is the base mechanics of infusing and upgrading the Hiram gear, as well as the cost in terms of gold, labor, and just overall what you need, as well as we're going to talk about crystallization. We're going to be talking about what weapons or what you should be focusing on leveling wise for your Hiram gear, what you should be infusing first. We are going to be talking about Jimang. We're also going to be talking about tempering. So the two things that aren't going to be covered in this video though are ArcheAge gear, because that is so far off, it's not even relevant right now. So if you were wondering about how to get ArcheAge gear, honestly, don't worry about it right now. It's not going to be a problem for a while. It's the highest gear that you can get from crafting, and it's not relevant right now. So just focus on your Hiram, which is technically the second tier endgame before ArcheAge. And the other thing is we are not going to discuss jewelry. Jewelry is something that kind of deserves its own video. I'm going to be doing more research on what you guys can do, because jewelry is kind of scarce right now until you get up to Noriet, which most people can't do right now. So I'll explain that in a future video. Now let's go ahead and get started. So for starting off, you start out with the questing gear. Now the questing gear, you get infusions throughout the green quests, and then you level up that gear with the infusions, and that gear comes up with you up until level 50. Now once you're level 50, you'll get a quest and some scrolls, and you'll be able to turn that gear into Hiram. Now I have a video all about questing gear. I'll post it down in the description for you guys about how to roll the stats and everything like that. So that'll be in the description. So next is, maybe you lost an infusion, or you need another set of gear, or you lost a piece of gear that you needed, like maybe you lost your gloves or something, you accidentally deleted them. Well, if you've already upgraded to Hiram, you can't rebuy it from the store, which you can if it's questing gear. If you lost your piece of questing gear, you can come over here to the weapon or armor merchant, and you will be able to buy it again from one of the crates. But if you have Hiram, then you will not be able to buy it again. So how do you get that extra, or how do you get that missing piece? Do you have to start all over? No. What you'll be able to do is, it's going to take a little bit more time, but you can farm Hiram pieces in any of these areas. The mobs that you will have to kill are the Abyssal Legion mobs, and they have a chance of dropping Hiram pieces, and these pieces will look like, I'm wondering if I still have a piece. I don't have a clicked piece, but it will basically be an unidentified version of Hiram, and it can drop two-handed, one-handed, and you'll be able to identify that piece. So you'll be able to do that. Personally, Markala, which is right here is my favorite place to farm if I am farming Hiram, due to the density, and it's just nice and kind of remote. So next thing we're going to be talking about is, how does leveling Hiram work? Well, Hiram works very similar in terms of the basics to leveling quest gear. By putting in infusions, you get XP, and then you need a scroll to awaken it. But it is much more complicated in terms of what it costs, the problems that can arise while leveling it, or while awakening it, and then how you get the infusions and scrolls. So you get infusions for Hiram from your Hiram dailies and from farming Abyssal Legion mobs. Now, or most mobs, I believe the mutant creatures also drop them in Western Hiram Mountains. So that's how you get those. And now Hiram dailies, I'll be making a video on its own completely about Hiram dailies. That is something I will do because that deserves its own video to explain it thoroughly. Now, once you get these infusions, there are 3 different kinds. There's the basic, the mysterious, and the radiant. The basic has a chance, or has the higher chances to drop the basic and the grand versions of the infusions. The mysterious has the higher chance to drop the rare, arcane, and heroic. And then radiant has the highest chance of dropping the heroic, unique, and celestial versions of infusions. So each tier of infusion means you get more XP per infusion. So if we look here, you will be able to, let me show you. See, if I open that one, I get a heroic. You'll be able to open it and go to gear upgrade, put in your weapon or whatever you do, and then put in the infusion. Pretty simple, right? So a couple tips when leveling Hiram. Real quick, just a couple tips is whenever you get your first tier of Hiram, which Hiram tier 1 goes to Celestial. Celestial is its max, and then you will have to awaken it with a scroll, which I'll explain awakening scrolls here in a second. So what I suggest is you max out the XP bar before you awaken it. So it skips a tier, because whenever you awaken from tier 1 to tier 2, it'll go back down to rare quality. But if you have it maxed XP, it'll go to heroic quality. So that's just a little tip there. Now with scrolls, there are 3 different scrolls. There's tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. And they just go basic, the radiant, and then the brilliant. The rare is from tier 1 Hiram to tier 2, and that takes 10 scrolls. And then radiant is tier 2 to tier 3, and that takes 25 scrolls. And then brilliant is tier 3 to tier 4. Now all of these are attempts. Nothing is guaranteed. It is not a guaranteed awaken. So say if I put my weapon in here right now, it says I started out with a 10% success rate chance. Now every time I fail, I get 5% towards that. So if I fail twice, the next time I do it, the third time, I'll have a 20% chance. And every time you fail, you have a chance to crystallize your weapon. Now crystallizing basically means you can't infuse the weapon, you can't temper it, you can't gem it. You can't try awakening anymore, you can't do any of those things. You can still use the weapon, but you can't do any of those 4 things. Now to decrystallize it, you will need to go to the honor shop, and you will have to purchase a decrystallization scroll for 10k honor. And basically you just right click that, left click the weapon, it'll decrystallize it, you will be able to temper, gem, everything once again on it. Now I don't know what the percent chance is to crystallize, but all I know is that you do have a chance to crystallize every time you fail an awakening. So keep that in mind. So to get these scrolls though, mostly you get most of them from dailies. You will get a majority of the T1s, and then you get a little bit of the radiant, and then you get very little of the brilliant every day. I think you get 20 brilliant a day, you get 15 to 20, and then you get 25 radiant or 21 radiant a day. And then I don't know how many tier 1s you get a day from daily quests. As well as every time you use a scroll, I forgot to mention, is you will have to use 300 labor. Doesn't matter what tier scroll it is, it always takes 300 labor, even if you fail. Okay, one thing is whenever you do get your first weapon or your first piece of Hiram gear to Celestial T1, you will get a 50-50 Sacred Hiram Scroll. And basically what that means is that you will have a 50-50 chance from getting that weapon to T1 to T2 if you use that scroll. As one thing I did forget to mention when upgrading with scrolls is that you will be able to, or from upgrading, so tier 1 to tier 2, your weapon goes back down to rare quality. From tier 2 to tier 3, it'll go back down to celestial. From tier 3 to tier 4, it'll stay epic. Okay, so if you guys come to the hidden warrior workbench, or no, the proven warrior workbench, you will be able just to search Hiram, and you can turn each scroll up a tier by changing. So you take 5 scrolls of the previous tier and 5 labor, and it'll turn it into one of the next tier. So it takes 5 T1s, and you'll be able to turn it into 5 T2s. Or not 5 T2s, 1 T2 for 5 labor. And then for the brilliant, it'll take 5 tier 2 scrolls, and then you'll be able to turn it into 1 brilliant. Or it takes 5 radiant, and you'll be able to turn it into 1 brilliant. So that starts becoming useful once you kind of stray away from, you know, T1 gear. You'll be able to turn all those scrolls into T2, and then so on and so forth. Another way to get these scrolls are from Aurora. So how you can get them, they're very rare, but you can get them from Abyssal Legion mobs again. You'll be able to get them from Abyssal Legion mobs. I know Western Hiram and Eastern Hiram, you can get them pretty much from any mob. And then maybe Reedwin, I think you can as well. And so those drop, they are very rare, so they do take a little bit to get. Now that you're level 50 and you're starting to level up your Hiram, what should you level up first? I personally suggest focusing your weapon first. No matter if you're a tank or anything like that. If you're, say, a Skull Knight, level up your Sceptre first, at least to T2 Divine. And why I suggest that is so you will be able to farm easier, and you will be able to farm infusions and scrolls and everything. You'll be able to farm your ancestral levels much easier, and it just helps out a lot. So if you're a tank, I suggest leveling up to T2 Divine max or minimum. If you want to go further than that, you can, and then start working on your armor and shield. If you're an archer, I really suggest getting your bow up to T3 epic, maybe even tier 4. I'm going to be shooting for tier 4, but that's what I just suggest. And then getting your armor to celestial at least once you do that. And then if you're melee, I would suggest getting your weapon up to T3 epic or tier 4. And that's just kind of, your armor's not going to help much. Once you start getting gems, it's going to help a little bit, and armor grade is going to help a little bit. But mostly if you're a DPS, you just want to be outputting the max DPS you can. You're already super squishy, a little bit of armor, it's not going to help too much. As well as you're going to be able to farm quicker. Now let's discuss gemming. Gemming is something that takes a lot of gold, a lot of labor, and a lot of honor. But it is guaranteed. The old system, it used to break, you had a chance to break all your gems whenever you started gemming. But now, it is guaranteed. It just costs a lot more labor and a lot more infusions. So, if you look here, you can go to the honor shop, and then if you go to the second page, you will be able to get gems. And these gems, you'll be able to buy one and then uncloak it or discover it, whatever you want to say, and then you'll be able to choose the gem you want. So what you want to do is you'll be able to uncloak it. So I have my range critical damage one, right? I can put in my weapon, and then it'll take 500 labor to socket a Luna gem. No matter what, it's 500 labor. And then each tier you go up, like each socket you fill, it will slowly cost more labor. Now, I'm not going to spend 75 gold on this, but it would cost 500 labor, 75 gold. Now, how do you upgrade a gem? You can upgrade it actually in socket. And how you do this is you go back to the honor shop, and you will be able to get a Luna Charm rank 1. You'll get that, and you just right click it, put in the weapon, and then if you have a tier 1 gem, you'll be able to check mark that, and then regrade it, and it'll upgrade the gem in the socket. So that's pretty useful. 200 labor and 1500 honor. So it's pretty cheap. I don't think it costs any gold. I honestly can't remember since last time I did it. So that's mostly it about gemming as of now in Unchained. So another thing is Luna Gems, or not Luna Gems, Luna Frost. Luna Frost are something you get from crates. Let me see if I can get one here. Okay, well, I got one. So they come in multiple different rarities. Usually you want to shoot for the purple. I'll just open this to show. So I got one. There's received healing. Now what I can do is I can right click it, and then I can put it on my chest. But as you see, I have a resilience one. So if I put this and equip it, it will break the resilience one and replace it with received healing, which I don't want. But you can have one Luna Frost per piece of gear. So as you can see on my belt, I have range skill damage increase, and you'll be able to do that. I'm just going to destroy that because I'm not going to use it. So that's Luna Frost, and gemming, not too complicated. It's pretty simple, and you'll be able to do that. Now the next thing is tempering, and tempering is fairly simple as well. You will get solar tempers and lunar tempers from crates as well. Ancestral crates, I believe, have the highest drop rate. And what you do with these tempers is you just right click it, and you can put a weapon in, and then you will be able to upgrade the temper of it. And basically that's that little plus and the number next to it, and it costs 200 labor each time, doesn't matter, and then a certain amount of gold, and it keeps increasing the cost of gold every time you temper it. So you do have a chance to fail, and whenever you fail, all it does is take the temper, gold, and labor. So nothing happens to your weapon except for you don't get the temper, but you do lose the resources. Now if you do succeed, it upgrades the gear score of it as well as the DPS of it. It's 45 DPS that it increases. It's static, so you can get that. That's a pretty simple way to increase your gear score, which at a topic I'm going to explain here in a second. You want to rush 4K gear score, which I'm going to explain that in a second. But another thing with tempering is once you get to plus 20 or 21 and up, every time you awaken it, you have a chance to lose up to 2 points, but you can't go under plus 20. So say if you have 21 plus 21 weapon and you end up losing a point, it will not go under plus 20. You are safe at plus 20. That is not going anywhere. But say if you have plus 24, you might end up losing 2 points and you might be back down to plus 22. So that can happen. But the next thing, just basically the topic that I want to share or advice, is rushing 4K gear scoring. And the reason why I say this is to rush 4K gear score is because once it is fixed, Golden Plains battle, say if you win first place, you'll be able to have 2K honor and 20 infusions, and you'll be able to enter 3 times. So say if you win first place 3 times a day, that's 6K honor and 60 infusions that you can get, as well as you get a 1K labor recharge. So it's really worth it. Once they fix it, that's going to be huge, but you do need 4K gear score to actually get in. Now, another thing is I suggest spending honor on gems to get to 4K gear score, and once you get 4K gear score, start saving your honor. And why I suggest this is because as with the decrystallization scrolls, you need 10K honor, and I've crystallized a couple times going from tier 2 to tier 3. So it's something that you do want to save your honor on, because it does help. So another thing that we are going to talk about real quick, it's not much in depth, is how to get costume and undergarments. And how you get those is from Gilda. You get the plans from Gilda. It's 500 Gilda for the underwear and then 300 Gilda for the costume. And what you do with those plans, you make the costumes, and these require good, pretty expensive resources to be able to get. The costume is the cheaper version, and then the underwear is the most undergarment. There we go. Is the more expensive one. So it's gonna take a little bit of time before anyone gets that, but it's definitely something to keep in mind that you are going to need Gilda for. But other than that, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap up the video. I really appreciate you guys watching. If you did find this helpful, thumbs up the video. It really does help. Subscribe for more ArcheAge Unchained content that I will be releasing, as well as I can't thank you guys enough for 1,000 subscribers. It happened very recently, and I just can't thank you guys enough. The support has been amazing, and I'm so glad that some of you are enjoying my videos, and I'm trying my best to make them better for you guys. So thank you guys once again for watching. I will catch you in the next video.